were over 20,000 people who took part in the British Film Institute's One Day in the Life of Television by keeping a diary of their viewing habits. That's what it was all about. And to complete the picture, the television industry turned the cameras on itself and recorded a revealing portrait of British television at work, including actually some moments that many people inside would rather forget.
650 is not there. This is it. Coming to 1. Go to 1. Go to 1.
Talk to me. We're going to be talking to someone about seals very shortly. He'll chat with the head of the Seaman Research Unit in Cambridge. But before that, we'll go on to other matters. I think we'll talk about robots instead, because they're also designed in Cambridge, and they're about to go into production in Russia. The move is part of a deal set up by a local firm who've just moved into new premises on the outskirts of Sydney. I believe we're going to have a film about that instead. Well, we're not. We're going to talk about
that on BT?
About?
Sorry, Jeremy.
We're going to talk about something entirely different.
650.
We're going to talk about a big battle in America
Stand by
instead.
baby swapped.
It's erupted over the parentage of a young Florida girl. A Pennsylvania couple is claiming the girl as their natural child. They say a hospital swapped their baby
5, 4,
for another
3,
baby shortly
2,
after birth. From
1,
New York, Tom Brooks sent this.
Aston.
What is going on here?
These are the bits we should see. Those are better than the programmes, aren't they? Well, Clive Gordon is the associate producer of the programme, and joining him is Sue Johnson, who plays Sheila Grant in Brookside. And the reason you're here, Sue, of course, is you actually kept a diary for the British Film Institute. We'll come to that in just a moment. But Clive, just explain to people exactly why that chaos was happening there at BBC Breakfast Time.
Well, BBC got off to an unfortunately bad start that morning. They took a calculated risk and invited Susan Hampshire, who is dyslexic, to read the newspapers that morning. For reasons unknown to anybody, she asked her BBC car to go to TVAM instead. They very gratefully received her into the studio and put her in front of a camera, and that left a huge hole in Breakfast Time's schedule, which was compounded by the man who was going to talk about seals, who they couldn't find at the very last minute, and the resulting chaos is what we saw.
Yeah, and the amazing thing, Sue, actually, the thing I found very funny about that was that TVAM accepted her graciously when she turned up on their front doorstep.
Yeah, I got very confused at that point, because I thought, had they double booked her? Because she just sort of sat on the sofa and chatted away. It was wonderful.
It's not cricket, is it? Well, tell me, Sue, why did you actually keep a diary that particular day? Why did you feel it was important to log your opinions on television, or what you did that day in relation to television?
Well, I suppose because they asked me to, and then I know that it was like doing homework when I kept forgetting to do it, and they kept saying, "Where is your diary?" So in the end, I wrote it very quickly, never expecting it to come back at me, and here it is.
Can you read a few lines there? Can you see that? Would you want me to?
I can't see without my specs.
Let me just
please
read that out to people, actually, because the interesting thing about Sue's diary is that it begins by saying, "I love open air. I find it fascinating." Why do you think we invited you in here today? This morning it's great because coming from Brookside, where I work, the first visit at 9 a.m, that's our first programme, has taken the cameras into the writers' meeting with Phil Redmond. This is a rare insight for me as an actor. No matter what they're saying to the viewers, actors are never allowed into these storyline conferences. So actually...
Well, I think that they would say now that that's changed, because since then a couple of actors have gone into storylines, but it's so rare. I was thinking, oh, hello. It was almost like next year, after that's gone out, we'll all be sitting in storyline meetings, or be packed with actors wanting a say in their storylines.
Yeah, well, that was quite interesting to realise that happened. Let's go to Dunstable in Bedfordshire. Malcolm Miles is on the line there. Hello, Malcolm. Have we got Ian? Who have we got? Ian Marsden from Manchester. Hello, Ian. Hello, Ian Marsden from Manchester. Are you there on the line?
Good morning, Sue, Jane and Eamon.
Hiya, how are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Good.
Just a couple of points, really. I think, like everybody else, I found it absolutely fascinating viewing. But your earlier point about it being bitty and frenetic, I've seen quite a bit of television, you know, from the studio side, and it's always like that to me. They always seem to be rushing around like chickens with their heads cut off. The other thing is that I think what people don't appreciate is that even the most mediocre programme, an awful lot of effort has gone into it, you know. And the other two quick points are that I would have thought they would have covered people hiring videos, which they didn't. And also, I would like to have seen them making an advert, because adverts do cost a lot of money, and there is a lot of effort goes into those.
Interesting point. Is video accepted as part of mainstream television?
Well, we set out to cover just one day in the life of British television, and the video industry really isn't part of that, and so we decided that wasn't really an appropriate area for us. On the point about advertising, we actually were quite keen to look at an advertisement being made that day, and in fact it was the one area that was impossible for us to get into, and basically the advertising agencies that we approached, and we approached an awful lot, didn't really want to let us in.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That's interesting that. Thanks very much for that call. I'd like to go to our studio in Glasgow now, and sitting waiting there is Helen Hewson, sorry Helen, and you were another contributor to the British Film Institute's diary then. You kept a diary.
Yes.
Would you care to read a bit for us?
Well, on the subject of the divided kingdom, I did state that we don't have very good history of Scotland, and that the Scotland that is presented to the tourists is not the real Scotland. Scotland is in fact a very poor country with a very large incidence of poverty. If for instance, recently it's been shown that Strathclyde has about one of the highest incidence of poverty in the whole British Isles.
Yeah, now this Divided Kingdom was a programme you were watching on Channel 4 that particular day.
That's correct.
Yes. Now why did you actually want to make your views known? Why did you want to fill in this diary?
Because one doesn't very often get, as a viewer, especially in the provinces here, we don't very often get the opportunity to make our views known in a general sense. I mean, we may be able to give our views in one programme, but this was most interesting because one could give one's views on a whole range of programmes.
Because it's actually very interesting, Helen. You fill your diary entry, I'm just looking at it here in the book, and you finish it in an air of frustration, and you say, when will people like me be consulted by the media? So here you are, a year on. Did you ever think this would happen to you?
No, I did not.
There you are. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. Thank you very much indeed. OK, we'd like now to go to Bristol. Tom Bishop is in our regional studio there. Hello, Tom.
Good morning.
Yes, you filled in a diary as well. Do you have your extract there?
Well, I can remember what I wrote.
Well, go ahead. Tell me what you were talking about.
Well, I was talking about breakfast television in the mornings. I was saying I preferred the BBC's one, honestly, because it had the news, it had shorter items on it. Whereas in ITV, you feel like you're sitting in someone's living room. And I think it's a bit too early in the morning to be doing that. Yeah.
You didn't miss the mark with some of your comments here. I'm too polite to read them out. You're a bit of a cynic, are you?
Well, we had to be honest. I mean, we've got to say what we think, you know.
Do you ever fancy being a television critic?
Well, anything's possible.
Now, as an operation, I mean, what worth do you think there was in actually putting this diary together?
Well, I think that the programmes are made for us, and unless we tell the programme makers what we really think about them, then how can they improve them? They don't know what they're aiming for, you see. So we had to tell them what we thought, in one way or another. This is an ideal opportunity.
What did you think of the film on ITV last night? Did you see that?
Yeah, it was very good. It was very honest. We had BBC and ITV working together then, and the result was really good. It let you make your own mind up about television. You didn't have any commentary, for instance. And yeah, it was a good insight into how television really works.
Yeah. You're a fan of BBC Breakfast Time, I see here. Not so much on the other side, TV-AM. Why is that?
That's right. Well, I mean, news does happen overnight, and I think the BBC gives the best coverage for it. I don't think people have much time in the mornings to watch television, and they can just catch snippets of the news on the BBC. Whereas on TV-AM, it's more of your human interest stories, really. You need to sit down for a while and really take it in, and I'm not ready for that sort of thing in the morning.
OK. Tom, thanks very much indeed for telling us your opinion on the whole project.
Thank you.
And for coming into the studio there. I'd like to go back on the telephones now to Gloucester. Rosalind Fairs is on the line there. Hello, Rosalind.
Hello, Eamon.
Right, the programme last night, A Day in the Life of Television. What did you think?
Well, I didn't actually watch all of it, but I actually tuned in around 11 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And it was during a time when two men were discussing the inclusion or omission of severely offensive four-letter words, which, of course, I can't mention over the air.
Yeah, we've actually had a lot of complaints about that this morning, Rosalind.
Well, one man actually admitted that one of the words, as far as he was concerned, had never been heard on TV before.
Yes.
But here we were listening to that actual word, and it seems ridiculous that the man finally decided against using it. Yet it was aired last night. Now I'm asking if standards have dropped so much in 1 year, and we can't have the old it was in context excuse, because it wasn't. Surely they could have discussed other aspects of cutting.
Okay,
So
Rosalind.
how does Clive justify such blatant swear words being aired, no matter how it may have been helping us to have an insight into TV making?
How do you, Clive?
Well, obviously this is a very important matter. A lot of viewers are concerned about bad language, and we're very conscious of our responsibility when we transmit something like this. Basically, it's an issue which concerns a lot of people, and in the course of our day's filming, Jonathan Powell, who's the BBC One controller, was suddenly faced with this dilemma. We were faced with exactly the same dilemma in terms of having to decide whether we were going to broadcast it or not. At the end of the day, we felt that this was an issue that was sufficiently important that we did need to address it. A lot of people are concerned about bad language, but at the same time, a lot of people are concerned that bad language is being censored from television.
Okay, and obviously you were putting it into the archives, the fact that it was a top topical issue at the time. Did you happen to see that extract, Sue?
I did. I mean, it came out of the blue. It was a shock to be in that debate, but I think I'd endorse what Richard said, because in the end, so Jonathan Powell seems to be going greyer through the whole programme to me, as it seemed, but I felt that it was, I needed to see that, me as a viewer, that's how seriously it was taken, and that amount of anxiety went behind it. If they hadn't used the words, I wouldn't have felt the effect.
Okay, Rosalind, thanks very much for your call. As I say, it's been echoed by a lot of people today, and what we're asking you at home this morning is, what does all this say about the future of British television? Let us know what you think. Get on the phone, 061-814-0424. Though, what was this film telling us? What was it a testimony to? When people look back at this in 10 or 15 years from now, what will they derive from it?
Well, I hope they get some pleasure from it. I mean, it was intended to be an entertaining programme, and at the same time, the project took place at a turning point in the history of television in this country. We are increasingly in a climate where programmes are seen as a product. We are seeing the audience being fragmented by technological development, satellite channels, which we can't do anything about and wouldn't wish to. But the upshot of all of that is that money is a real problem for programme makers. Budgets are being cut all over the place.
So as we saw in the scenes from the BBC meetings yesterday, where the constant haggling was going on over money, I mean, are you saying basically at the end of the day, all the programmes in mainstream television in the next 10 or 15 years will turn out looking the way they do on satellite stations?
Well, I wouldn't go as far as that, but the pressure is on for things to go in that direction. And as we see in the programme, you can't make quality television, you can't make the kind of television programmes that we're used to seeing on very, very low budgets.
Well, we've got Isabella Ward from Perth on the phone to us now. Good morning, Isabella.
Good morning. I was just wondering about the programme last night, you know, and I just thought that they seemed to spend an awful lot of money on preparation, whereas, you know, maybe it would be better programmes if the money was more spent, you know, on the actual programme itself. I just felt that...
Maybe you can't have one without the other, Isabella.
I know, but behind the scenes,
Yeah.
there seemed to be an awful lot going on, an awful lot of people running about who didn't seem to know what they were doing half the time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Whereas, you know, in the News at 10 programme, I noticed that, you know, the political chap, you know, does News at 10. He had very little time to put together, I know he's an expert, but I just thought, you know, that even some of those quiz shows and that, I mean, for the prices I would imagine it takes to put them together, I mean, there seems to be an awful lot of people going about, you know, doing the same thing.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. There's Isabella. Thought it sort of undermined viewers' confidence in the sort of programme presenters and makers. Lisa Goff from London. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
Hi, Lisa. What would you like to say on this?
Well, I was a bit disappointed last night with the programme. I was expecting to see more of how the background of the programmes were made, and I was quite disappointed that we didn't see much of it. I'd just like to know why there wasn't much of the background shown.
Well, that wasn't really the purpose, though, Clive.
That's right. Our brief was to cover one day, and obviously the whole thing could have been done differently. You could look at the production process, which would involve following a programme through from inception through to transmission. We could only do that in the case of news programmes and other programmes which happened all on one day, but that really wasn't the point of the exercise.
Liz, your Channel 4 obviously was included in all of this, and we've had quite a few people ringing in today talking about the section in it about the launch party. It was full of liggers.
What do you hear this one? David Barrage from Leon-C says, the thing that spoiled the whole programme for me was the superinflated ego of the woman TV critic. She came across as an awful person and she ruined the programme. You, I think, would like to disassociate yourself from this woman and say she did not work for Channel 4.
No, she doesn't work for Channel 4. She's actually an extremely good television critic, I think. She works for the London Evening Standard. And I think possibly that was one of those scenes where television arrives at a party and in the cold light of the next day, it doesn't look quite so much fun as it felt like at the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, we've had quite a few calls. Lots and lots of calls have said how much they enjoyed the programme. And quite a few of them picked up on things that the programme revealed to them about the way that television works, Clive. And typified by Julie Mathington from Southampton, who said she was very angry at the way television manipulates people. She refers to the Scottish programme on poverty and says this was complete fabrication. Well, what did you think?
Well, I must say that I do agree with her concern about television manipulating people. It is something that certainly we try very hard to avoid, but it does go on, and it's one of the problems that the industry faces, really.
Let's bring Pauline Tomlins from Gloucester in at this stage. Pauline?
Hello.
Hi, Pauline, what would you like to say?
I'd like to say how much I enjoyed the programme very much, and I enjoyed watching. I watched it from start to finish. I'd like to know, are they going to make another one?
Well, just finished this
Was that not enough for you last night? 2 hours?
Wasn't, because I enjoyed it so much I wouldn't mind being on the second one.
OK, Pauline.
Right. Well, perhaps in 10 years we'll come back and survey the, well, maybe the ruins of British television, I don't know, but for the time being there's no plan to make any follow-up to this programme.
Clive's very pessimistic about the state of British television at the moment, and this is sort of like a sort of headstone commemorating the death of British television as we know it. What do you think, Liz?
I think there are tough times ahead in all kinds of ways, but I really think we shouldn't be so pessimistic as that. I don't believe it's the end of British television as we know it at all, and I think it's up to us, really, to just get up off our backsides and work with what resources there are, and to do the things that people have struggled to do in the last 50 years, to make decent programmes with the resources we've got.
And you're not at all unnerved at the idea of cameras kind of sneaking behind and possibly revealing any dirty linen?
It's one of the things cameras are supposed to do. No, I can't object to that.
OK. Liz Forgren and Clive, thank you very much indeed for the film last night. Certainly provoked a lot of reaction, and that will be there in the television archives forever. Thank you. OK, brief word about tomorrow then.
Yes, that's right. Remembering Ray, Alma Moore is going it alone since the death of her husband, radio favourite Ray Moore. We'll be talking to her.
All satin and lace, so look at what the fashionable autumn bride will be wearing.
Cosmo columnist Irma Kurtz will be here with advice for brides-to-be.
And living with American TV, zipping and zapping through dozens of channels with a telly in every room.
Is it a good idea? And glorious star guest is the real Mike Yarwood, who'll be putting the record straight about his career since the golden Yarwood years. That's tomorrow.
Open air, 9:05, 11. Bye-bye.
Bye.